Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a pretty budget combination to try out that I definitely think has the potential to be a pretty decent performer. We've seen good patterns out of this choke, and we've definitely seen some pretty decent patterns from these shells, especially considering what they are. So if we combine the two, how does it actually perform? Because it should be a pretty decent little budget combination. But as for the shells I brought out here today, I got out some of these, which are some Fiocchi Golden Turkey 12 gauge shells. They are a 3-inch 1 3/4 ounce payload of lead number 4s, moving about 1200 feet per second. And this is a 10 round box, and from what I remember, they were probably $7-8 or so cheaper than the Longbeard shells. Now, no, we are not expecting to get Winchester Longbeard XR performance out of these, but for the price point, they haven't been a terrible option so far. They have been plenty usable enough. And as for the setup we've got to run them through, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose with a 24-inch barrel on it, and this choke, which is a Cabela's Blackmaxx 660 constriction turkey choke. And typically, I think these are about 40 or 45 bucks, but you can find them on sale pretty easily for 30 bucks or so. But we have seen plenty of good performances out of multiple Blackmaxx chokes across different gauges, including this one. So we're just going to have to see what this kind of budget combination can actually give us. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey paper at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from those shells through that 24-inch barrel. So let's get you guys a view of this target and see just what this cheap combination can actually give us. And is it a pretty decent turkey hunting setup or not? I think it should look pretty decent for what it is, but we don't know until we try it. So let's go take our shot and see what it gives us. Alright, so that round gave us 1274 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1200, so with a 24-inch barrel, that's moving out pretty good for what these are, being a lead 4. And I do believe that number is correct based on what I can remember, 'cause I think out of our 28-inch 1187 barrel, they were a little over 1300 feet per second, so I believe that number is correct. So we're definitely looking pretty good for velocity, but were they getting pushed a little bit too fast to hold a pattern down there? Let's go check out our target and see what they gave us. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And we absolutely do have a dead bird there all day long, even though we were just a touch high and a touch right. But I gotta say, for a budget combination like that, that's not bad at all, especially for it being a lead number 4. I mean, that is a $15 box of ammunition and a $40-ish choke through a pretty standard 870, and I wouldn't be scared in the slightest to hunt with that kind of a pattern. Typically, lead 4s can be a little tricky to get the pattern right, but hey, that's not bad at all. Now, we don't have a super tight baseball looking core. It's just a beautifully even spread of pellets, and it's a pretty circular pattern as well. We really only have a couple of flyers down there at the very bottom, and I'll take that all day long. And really, for a lead 4, that's honestly about perfect. You definitely have less pellets than you would in something like a number 5 or 6 shell, and there's no voids in there, and it's not so tight that you have to be worried about not having a little bit of extra leeway. I really like that. So it seems like this is a pretty good budget combination, and that's a pattern that, even though it is a little bit more broad and not quite as hot of a core, you could still push that out to 45 yards pretty confidently, I'm saying. I mean, there's no voids or anything in this entire pattern until you get to the very outskirt edges that I would ever be worried about. So for a 40-yard budget turkey combination, I don't think we can complain too much about that one bit, especially considering how basic these shells are. They are a nickel-plated lead number 4, and that's about it. They have a little bit of a wad, but no buffer material or anything else. So I would say a 660 Blackmaxx choke works out pretty well with these Fiocchi Golden Turkey shells. So no complaints here from me whatsoever. And once again, I think we found another pretty decent little budget combination. And here's the wad from that shell. Definitely very basic, very standard, nothing special about it, but it looks perfect. There's no rips, tears, pinholes, anything, nothing stuck down in there. Definitely did not snag on anything or do anything weird whatsoever. And clearly, I think it did its job just like it was supposed to for today's test. So looking good here, definitely nothing to complain about. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? It might not be the tightest or the hottest pattern we've ever gotten with a lead 4 or something like a Longbeard shell, but for what that is, that's a cheap box of shells going through another cheap choke, both of which you can go buy off the store shelf right now, and it seems like for being a pretty budget combination, you would have a more than good enough turkey hunting pattern right there. I really like how that performed. It's not too tight to where with them being a lead 4, you have to worry about the lower pellet count and potentially miss missing a bird or having voids in your pattern, but it's not so open either that you have to worry about hitting another bird or misjudging your range by 5 yards or something and that making a difference. So with how even of a spread that is, I really like how that performed, because if you needed to, they're a lead 4 and you could push that to 45 and probably even 50 yards as well and still have a good enough pattern. So at the end of the day, I don't think we can complain one bit about that combination. And once again, it seems like the Cabela's Blackmaxx chokes are some pretty decent little options, and based on the packaging and how they look and feel, I have a feeling that they're probably made by Carlson's, because so far they've been some very solid performers across the board for me. But I guess, let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Fiocchi Golden Turkey shells or the Cabela's Blackmaxx chokes? And if so, what kind of performance have you seen out of them? And would you turkey hunt with that kind of a pattern? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.